You know, I moved up here to Blue Heron Lake for the quiet. The kind of quiet where the only traffic jam is a family of deer crossing the dirt road. I built my cabin myself, salvaging wood, rigging up my own solar panels, and most importantly, customizing this old diesel generator I affectionately call the Ironheart. Because out here, when the grid coughs, that machine is the only thing keeping the lights on. The coffee hot and the well pump running. It was a slice of paradise, pure and simple. In the few neighbors I had, folks like old man Silas who just fished all day, or the Ramos family who kept to their side of the cove. They were the good kind, the mind-your-own-business kind. Until Barbara showed up. Every serene place seems cursed to attract its tyrant, and ours came in a pristine white SUV with oversized gold sunglasses and a clipboard. Always a clipboard. She moved into the biggest property on the ridge, the one they call the estate, and within a week she wasn't just a neighbor, she was the self-appointed president of the Blue Heron Conservancy Board, an organization that existed only inside her perfectly coiffed blonde head. The first time she cornered me, I was splitting firewood by the shed. She strode right up, those sharp little heels crunching on my gravel, and didn't even offer a hello. She just announced, "Good morning, I'm Barbara, and we have an issue with your apparatus." I leaned on my axe, wiping sweat. "The generator?" I asked. She shuddered, like the sound of it offended her soul. "It's unsightly. It disturbs the migrating sandpipers, and the noise violates the spirit of our, and I quote, rustic tranquility covenant." I almost laughed the axe right out of my hand. Rustic tranquility covenant? Barbara, the only covenant out here is the one I made with my diesel supplier. She didn't crack a smile. "I'm giving you a formal written warning, Mr. Vance. Effective immediately, the generator may not operate between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m., or you will be assessed a fine of $300. I just shook my head, pointed to the lake, and said, "Ma'am, go talk to Silas. He was here first. If he's got a problem, I'll listen. You've got a clipboard and a fantasy." That was my first mistake, treating her like a harmless fool. I should have known a narcissist sees mockery as motivation. She didn't get bored. She escalated. First came the flyers, printed on glossy cardstock, taped to every post and tree. "Notice of violation, Vance's noisome engine." The neighbors, the quiet ones, they just rolled their eyes, but a few, the ones afraid of conflict. They started nodding to Barbara, giving her air. The conflict simmered for a few weeks, mostly just me tearing down her ridiculous notices, until I caught her doing something far more intrusive. It was late one night, a Tuesday, and I heard a strange scritch-scritch sound near the back of the shed where the Ironheart sits. I crept out, flashlight in hand, and caught a glimpse of movement near the tree line. It was Barbara, dressed in all black, looking ridiculous, her flashlight beam dancing around the generator. "What in the world are you doing, Barbara?" I called out. She jumped, a genuinely terrified flinch. Just enforcing the nocturnal safety protocol, Vance. "Generators are fire hazards," she stammered, before sprinting into the darkness like a guilty teenager. That was the alarm bell. She wasn't just annoying, she was obsessed. But the real cold fury hit me a week later. I was checking the fuel lines when I spotted it. A thin, industrial-grade black cable snaking out from under the shed, buried shallowly in the pine needles and running straight to the back corner of the estate. She hadn't just been inspecting it. She had tapped into my power. My machine, my diesel, my back-breaking work, was lighting up the palace of the self-appointed queen. I marched right up to her pristine white porch the next morning. She answered the door with that sickly sweet HOA smile already plastered on. "Yes, Mr. Vance? Have you come to pay your overdue fines?" She asked, clipboard ready like a shield. "I've come to ask why there's an extension cord running from my private property to your living room." I kept my voice low, dangerously quiet. Her smile didn't waver, just got a degree colder. "Oh, that's merely communal resource redistribution, Mr. Vance. The bylaws I drafted are very clear. Community assets must benefit all members. You're simply..." "I'm sharing the abundance. Barbara, it's my generator. I built it. I pay for the fuel. This isn't the communal spa pool. This is theft. You trespass to hook up like a thief in the night. I shot back. That's when the arrogance really flared. Her chin jutted out. I'm the duly elected president of the Conservancy Board. I'm protecting the community's interests. You disconnect it, or I'll see you fined into oblivion. The moment I realized logic was useless. She wasn't just entitled, she was delusional, operating in a reality where her handwritten rules were law. I walked away before I did something I'd regret, but my blood was boiling. She had no idea the critical mistake she had made. You see, years ago, after a crew of low-life hunters tried siphoning the fuel, I didn't just bolt the shed door. I had wired a failsafe, a non-lethal, high-voltage deterrent designed to deliver the shock of a lifetime to anyone attempting to tamper with the output terminals without the proper bypass code. I hadn't thought about it in years. But now, looking at that cable running to her house, I realized fate had just handed me the perfect, silent, and entirely justifiable solution. I didn't have to fight her in her imaginary court. I just had to let the generator do the talking. My patience was gone. The confrontation left me with a single, clear goal: justice, delivered by kilowatt. I decided to set the stage. That night, I made sure my cabin was completely dark. Drapes drawn tight, no porch light, the kind of dark that screamed, he's gone to town for the week. I grabbed a beer, sat quietly on the porch swing, and waited. It was almost 11 p.m. when I saw movement. Barbara, of course, but this time she'd brought an accomplice. Diane, a timid woman from down the road, clearly bullied into participation. Diane was holding a second, thicker gauge cable, looking around nervously. Keep it down, Diane. He's gone, I told you. We just need to upgrade the connection. This old one is inefficient. Barbara hissed, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. They crept toward the shed. Clipboards be damned. This was pure greedy theft now. From my perch in the shadows I could see Barbara's profile, a look of smug triumph as she fiddled with the main terminal. She snatched the cable from Diane's trembling hands. Useless. I'll do it myself. Honestly, some people simply don't grasp basic community infrastructure management, she muttered, completely oblivious to the fact she was about to illegally tap a private line. Diane whispered, Barbara, I really don't think this is safe. Barbara scoffed. Safe? Of course it's safe. I reviewed the electrical code amendment, 4.3b I drafted myself. I know exactly what I'm doing. The absurdity was thick enough to chew on. I leaned back, taking a slow sip of my beer, letting her commit. I wanted no doubt, no excuses, it was a misunderstanding. I needed the full show. She found the right terminal, gave a victorious little grunt, and with a confident twist of the pliers, she clamped the final connection down tight. The generator lights flickered violently, then settled back to a steady hum. Barbara's whole body seemed to levitate for a split second, arms flailing like a rag doll in a hurricane. The sound that tore from her throat was not a simple yelp. It was a blood-curdling shriek of pure, shocked outrage and pain. She collapsed onto the pine needles, moaning, her meticulously styled hair standing straight up like a frizzy, electrocuted halo. Diane shrieked, dropping the flashlight which rolled in the dirt, bathing the scene in a harsh, accusatory white light. The noise, the scream, and the subsequent commotion were enough. Porch lights started flicking on all around the cove. Doors slammed open. What was that noise? Someone yelled. I stood up from the porch swing, stretching slowly, walking into the pool of light. Evening. Everyone, I called out, my voice calm, clear, and carrying across the stunned silence of the gathered neighbors. Barbara was staggering to her feet, pale, shaking, and looking utterly ridiculous. Vance, you attacked me. This is a booby trap. You tried to electrocute me, she stammered, pointing a trembling, blackened finger at me. I simply gestured to the thick black cable running from the shed terminal to the dirt near her foot. Attacked you, Barbara? No. You were trespassing, attempting to steal power from my private property. The Iron Heart just doesn't take kindly to intruders. It delivered a very personal, non-lethal message about property lines. Old Silas, leaning on his porch railing, roared with laughter. Serves the old bat right. The other neighbors, initially shocked, started to chuckle, then murmur. Her image, her authority, her entire paper empire crumbled right there in the glare of the flashlights. She tried one last defiant rally. "This is an attack on the Blue Heron Conservancy Board," a voice from the back called out, loud and clear. "Barbara, you lunatic, there is no Conservancy Board!" The next morning, she played her final card, calling the county sheriff. 2 deputies arrived, finding me sipping coffee calmly on my porch, and finding Barbara, still frazzled, ranting at them about assault and illegal wiring. I showed them the cable she ran. I showed them my fully documented generator modifications, and I handed over the entire stack of her ludicrous, self-written violation notices. The tall deputy, reading one of the flyers, looked at Barbara and shook his head. "Ma'am, we checked with the county registrar. There is no Blue Heron Conservancy Board. And even if there were, you breaking onto Mr. Vance's property and splicing into his power line constitutes theft of services and trespassing." Barbara's jaw dropped. The Queen of Blue Heron Lake was dethroned, not by me, but by a couple of county deputies and her own arrogant greed. They issued her a citation, warned her about pressing false charges, and drove away, leaving her standing there, defeated without her clipboard, as Silas waved to me with a smug grin. The peace returned to Blue Heron Lake almost immediately. Barbara kept her head down. Her lights stayed dark, and the only hum I hear now is the iron heart and the loons. That whole ordeal taught me something profound. You can be patient, you can stand your ground, but sometimes the best form of justice isn't yelling or fighting. It's simply letting the arrogant one push too far, watch them trigger their own consequences, and then quietly savoring the silence that follows. So, here's my question for you, the ones watching. Was I wrong? Should I have disconnected the cable myself and called the police? Or was letting her learn this lesson the hard, humiliating way the only true form of justice for someone like Barbara? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if I handled it right, and if you've ever dealt with a Barbara of your own. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. You never know what kind of tranquility-disrupting drama is lurking just around the corner.